And in this film, we will get to know a world full of magic and adventures. And also we will get to know a simple young man named Aladdin. And he found a magical lamp and also found a genie. And this genie can grant him 3 wishes. And from this moment, Aladdin's life began to change, or he began to face conflicts and challenges, and he was trying to win these challenges. All this and more we will see in the Aladdin movie. The story of the movie begins in a place in the middle of the sea where there was a boat, and in it there was a sailor and his wife and their children, and they were watching a huge ship passing beside them, and they say to their father that they wish they could have a big ship like this. And in this moment, the father decides to give them a lesson about contentment and tells them, I will tell you the story of Aladdin and the magical lamp, and says that the story begins with a magical cave in a city named Agrabah. And this cave has a genie who grants wishes to whoever owns the lamp, but when he asks for wishes, the genie grants them to him on the condition that the one who enters the cave and takes the lamp must have a kind heart, otherwise he will die inside the cave. And the city of Agrabah is ruled by a kind sultan, and he has one daughter named Princess Jasmine, but his minister was an evil man named Jafar, and because of the darkness of his heart and his use of black magic, he could not until today get the lamp that is in the cave. After that, we move to Aladdin, the simple poor young man who lives in the city and who works with his friend whose name is Abu in theft operations so they can live. And one day they stole a golden necklace from a girl with the help of Abu. Then they sold it to the shop, and the owner of the shop gives them 1 bag of dates in exchange for the necklace. But Aladdin donates the bag of dates to a poor child who was sitting in the street with his mother. And after that we see Princess Jasmine as she is walking in the streets of the city, and she was completely disguised so no one would recognize her. And in this moment she sees 2 poor boys who want bread, so she gives them bread from the bakery, but the owner of the bakery, whose name is Jamal, sees her and asks her for the price of the bread. And here she was not carrying money, so Aladdin intervenes and saves her, and says to her, trust me, I will get you out of this situation. And he takes her golden bracelet and gives it to Jamal, and he distracts his attention and takes Jasmine, and they run away. And Jasmine says to him, I want my bracelet. So Aladdin starts laughing and says to her, this bracelet that you mean? And we know that in his way he stole it from Jamal with sleight of hand, and Jamal here later discovers that he was deceived. In this meantime, the guards start chasing Aladdin, and Aladdin says to Jasmine, do not be afraid, Abu will help you so you can escape. And each one of them escaped from a different way. So Aladdin starts running and dodging the guards with high skill, and all the people of the city were helping him because he is kind with them. And here he reaches Jasmine and takes her so they can escape from the guards, and finally Aladdin escapes from the guards with Jasmine, and he says to her, I will take you to the place where I live. And he took her to a secret tower that no one can reach except him. And Aladdin starts introducing himself to her, but Jasmine lies to him and says to him that her name is Dahlia and that she is the princess's servant. And he says to her that he lost his family when he was young, so she feels compassion for him and asks him for her bracelet, and indeed he was looking for it, but he did not find it, so she thought that he stole it and does not want to return it. And she got very angry and says to him, I made a mistake because I trusted a thief. So Aladdin feels sad because he did not steal it, and in the end he knows that his friend Abu is the one who stole it and hid it, and quickly he went to him and returned it. And Aladdin says to Abu, you should not have stolen the bracelet, and not everything we steal. And at this time we know that Aladdin was in love with Jasmine, and he was sneaking into the palace with the help of his friend Abu, who was distracting one of the guards, and he wore the clothes of a merchant and entered the palace. But we know that the parrot Iago of Jafar saw him and quickly flew and told Jafar, and Jafar was busy and was planning to take the place of the Sultan, and he says that the lamp is the only solution, and Iago tells him the thief who entered the palace is the kind person. So Jafar sees Aladdin, and quickly Aladdin knocks on the door, and Jasmine opens the door for him and is surprised by his presence. So he says to her, I came to return your bracelet, and she asks him and says to him, where is the bracelet? He says to her, the bracelet is in your hand. And here we know that Aladdin still thinks that the princess's name is Dahlia, and he thought she is the princess's servant. But suddenly the real Dahlia enters, and Aladdin thought that she is the princess. So Jasmine signals to Dahlia so she can continue acting as the princess, and she says to her, this is the thief I told you about. So Jasmine asks Aladdin to leave quickly before the guard sees him, and he says to her, I will come back and see you. So they agreed to meet the next day, but he did not know that Jafar's guards were waiting for him outside the room, so they catch him and take him to the desert, and there he meets Jafar, and he says to him, the one you saw in the palace is Princess Jasmine herself, and she was playing with you, and I can make you the richest person in the city, so Jasmine loves you. So he started telling him about the cave, and telling him about the magical lamp that will make all his dreams come true. And the next day we see Jasmine while she was waiting for Aladdin as he promised her, but he did not come because at that moment they arrived at the cave, and Jafar asked Aladdin to enter the cave on the condition that he brings the magical lamp, and that he does not touch the treasures that he will see, and Aladdin agreed, and indeed he entered the cave with his friend Abu, and they kept walking until they reached a place full of gold and jewelry, and the magical lamp was on a high rock in the middle of the treasures. And Aladdin and Abu started approaching the lamp, but he saw a magic carpet moving, and there was a rock on it. So the carpet asked him to free it. And indeed Aladdin removed the rock, and the carpet was freed and flew from happiness and thanked Aladdin because he freed it from this prison. In this meantime, Aladdin climbed the rock to reach the lamp, but a big jewel fell in front of Abu, so it caught his attention. And when Aladdin touched the lamp, Abu touched the jewel. So the cave said to him, you broke the rules because your friend Abu touched the forbidden treasures, and for this you will be imprisoned inside the cave until you die. And here the cave began to collapse, and volcanic lava started to fill the place, and Aladdin kept jumping between the rocks quickly so he can get out. And at the last moment the magic carpet carried him and Abu and took them out of the cave. And Jafar was waiting for the lamp, but the cave collapsed, and the path to the gate was destroyed. But Aladdin stayed holding on to a rock, and Abu was on his back, and he said, Jafar, help me to get out. But Jafar said to him, give me the lamp, and I will help you. And as soon as he took the lamp, he hit his hand, and he fell inside the cave. But is it possible that Aladdin died? This is what we will see in the coming events. And now we see Abu, who in the blink of an eye stole the lamp from Jafar, and the magic carpet saved Aladdin before he fell into the volcanic lava. And after Jafar got out of the cave, he discovered that Abu stole the lamp from him. And when the carpet saved Aladdin, Abu gave him the lamp. So Aladdin said to the carpet, is there a way for us to get out of the cave? So it pointed to this lamp in his hand. And when he saw it, he saw colors that looked like galaxies of space. And he wiped the dust from it and started rubbing the lamp. And suddenly a giant blue genie came out, and Aladdin stood astonished and shocked. And the genie said to him, I promised myself that if someone freed me from the lamp, I would grant him 3 wishes. And from this moment you are my master, and Shabik Labik. The genie is in your hands. And Aladdin said to him, I cannot believe I am talking to a genie. And the genie said to him, you have not seen anything yet. And he explained to Aladdin that all his requests will be fulfilled. And after the introduction, he said to him, I can grant you any wish you want except that I cannot make someone love you or bring someone back from the dead. And Aladdin thought about the first wish and said to the genie, I wish you get us out of the cave. So the genie said, let's fulfill the first wish, and with the magic he possessed he got them out of the cave. And in the desert the genie made a beautiful place, and they sat and relaxed in it. And he asked him and said to him, what will you use your wishes for? So Aladdin answered him and said to him, if you were in my place, what would you wish for? So the genie answered him and said to him, my only wish is to become free. So Aladdin asked him, why didn't you free yourself? So the genie laughed and said, I need someone to use all 3 wishes to free me, and this is impossible for anyone to do. So Aladdin promised him and said to him, I will use all my wishes to free you. The genie replied to him and said to him that you basically did not use the first wish. So Aladdin said to him, you said that I must rub the lamp, and I did not rub it. And here the genie reviewed the events and saw that his words were true. So he said to him, okay, I will overlook this time, and I will consider that you still have 3 wishes. So Aladdin said to him, I wish to become a prince. And suddenly a music band came down, and they started preparing real horses and camels and luxurious clothes. And they dressed Aladdin in royal prince clothes, and they all went in a big parade to the city. So Aladdin attracted the attention of the Sultan and Princess Jasmine. And after that the Sultan met him and got to know him, and Jafar and Jasmine did not know that he was Aladdin, and this was because of the magic that the genie uses, which made them see Aladdin's face as another person's face. And Aladdin was confused and did not know what to do. And in the meantime the servants enter and bring many gifts, and he says to them, these are very precious gifts. So Jasmine asks him and says to him, who are you planning to buy with these gifts? So Aladdin replies to her and says to her, I will buy you. Then after he made a mistake in the words once and twice to fix the situation, Jasmine says to them, she is leaving, and leaves him and goes to her room. So the Sultan also says to Aladdin, go and rest in one of the palace rooms, and do not forget that you are invited today to dinner. And after they leave, the genie says to Aladdin, I have been for 10,000 years, and I have never been in an embarrassing situation like what happened today. And at night, Aladdin goes with the genie to dinner with the Sultan and his entourage. And at dinner, the genie sees Dahlia, Jasmine's maid, and he likes her, and says to Aladdin, I will make Dahlia mine. And in the same night, Aladdin jumps from the balcony and appears on the magic carpet and says to Jasmine, will you come with me? So Jasmine sits with him, and he starts flying with her in the most beautiful romantic tour under the moonlight around the city. And after that, he takes her back to the palace and bids her farewell. But the next day, Aladdin is afraid of losing Jasmine, and he says to the genie, I will use my last wish to become a rich prince and marry, so I can take Jasmine. And I know that I promised you that I would free you, but you see the situation. So the genie gets angry with Aladdin because he keeps lying to the Sultan and to Jasmine. And he says to him, I considered you my friend, and I am really 10,000 years old, but I have never befriended a human before. And here he goes back to the lamp, and he is angry. So Aladdin gets angry with himself and takes the lamp and returns to the city streets. But the parrot Iago sees him and tells Jafar, and Jafar was disguised, and he suddenly comes out to Aladdin and steals the lamp from him without him feeling it. Then he starts rubbing the lamp and sees the genie for the first time. And at this time, Aladdin returns to the old house and says to himself, I will tell the truth to Jasmine even if she leaves me. And at this moment, we know that the Sultan discovered that Jafar was using magic on them so he could take the Sultan's place. So the Sultan orders the captain of the guards to arrest him, but the parrot Iago, who is Jafar's friend, takes the keys and steals them and manages to free Jafar from prison. And here, when Jafar sees the Sultan, he says to him, from now on I can't run away because I will become the Sultan. So the Sultan orders the captain of the guards to arrest him, but Jafar rubs the lamp and brings out the genie. And Jafar says to the genie, I wish to become a Sultan. So the genie gets angry, but he was forced to fulfill Jafar's wishes, and indeed, he fulfills his wish. And here Jafar becomes the Sultan. Then he wishes to become the strongest sorcerer in the universe. And indeed, the genie fulfills his wish and turns a magic snake into a staff he uses in magic. And in the meantime, Aladdin and Abu enter the palace secretly, and he wanted to take the lamp. And here he sees the genie and signals to him to stay away. And here Jafar starts telling them the truth and says to them that this person is a thief and not a prince, and everything you saw when he appeared as a prince was a lie because of the genie's magic and the lamp. And when Jafar wanted to get rid of them, the genie sent the carpet to save them. And here Jafar started torturing the Sultan with magic to force Jasmine to marry him. And indeed this happens. And when the wedding day comes, Jafar says to Jasmine, say yes to marriage. And at this moment, Jasmine sees Aladdin coming on the carpet, so she steals the lamp and jumps from the balcony. And Aladdin catches her before she falls to the ground and takes her, and they escape. But Jafar makes the parrot Iago fly after them and uses his magic to turn Iago into a big monster. And indeed, he transforms and flies after Aladdin and Jasmine to take the lamp from them. But here, unfortunately, the lamp falls from Aladdin's hand. And when Iago sees it, he takes it quickly. And at this moment, the Sultan escapes from the guards and hits Jafar and drops the magic staff from his hand. So Iago returns to his normal size because Jafar's magic is broken. And here the lamp becomes heavy for him, and Abu runs quickly on the carpet and takes it quickly. And Aladdin starts pulling Abu and takes him with him. And at this time, the Sultan says to Jafar, you are worth nothing without your magic. So Jafar replies to him saying, now you will see the real magic. So a strong storm happens, and here the lamp flies from Aladdin's hand, and Iago returns quickly and takes it and gives it to Jafar. And suddenly the magic carpet is torn, and Aladdin starts talking to Jafar to anger him and provoke him, and says to him, O Jafar, even if you become strong, you will always be weaker than the genie because the genie is stronger than anyone, even if he is your servant. And here Jafar rubs the lamp and says, I wish to become the strongest person in the world and stronger even than the genie. So Jafar turns into a big genie. But before he uses his power, bracelets appear on his hands, preventing him from moving. And Aladdin and the genie say to him that any person who becomes like the genie, and if he does not have a master, must live inside the lamp. And here a black lamp appears and pulls Jafar and the parrot Iago, and they are imprisoned inside it. And the magic is broken off the Sultan and Jasmine, and then they wake up. And at this time, the genie throws the lamp that has Jafar in it into the cave of wonders, so no one can ever reach it. So the Sultan thanks Aladdin for his stances and for helping them save the kingdom. And also Aladdin apologizes to them because he lied to them about being a prince. Then he says goodbye to them and says to the genie, I promised you that I would free you, and I will keep my promise. So he uses his last wish to free him. And the genie cannot believe himself, so the bracelets fall from his hands, and he turns into a human. So he thanks Aladdin and asks for Dahlia's hand in marriage, and indeed Dahlia agrees. And over the days they build a beautiful family, which is the family we saw at the beginning of our story on the boat in the sea when they saw the big ship. And then the Sultan apologizes to Jasmine and says to her, I was wrong, and from now on you are the Sultana of the kingdom of Agrabah. And you can change the laws and marry who you love because Aladdin's actions impressed him. And then Aladdin leaves the palace with Abu while he is sad, but Jasmine comes to him and says to him, my first decision as Sultana is to arrest you. But she continues and says to him, I am arresting you so you can enter the cage of marriage with me. And here Aladdin and Jasmine actually get married, and the whole city celebrates them. And then everyone lives together in a happy ending. And here is the end of the movie.